Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm really thrilled to be speaking to the wonderful bestseller author and musician Tijn Touber about your latest book. I'm going to show it, Time Bender und die Rebellion der Anika Laroo, that just came out recently in German, and I feel so honored, dear Tijn, that we could publish that in German. With the publishing house Simply. My name is Martina and I'm the publisher of your book, and I feel so happy to have this conversation with you today. Welcome. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Martina. And ever since we met, I feel that we've been really good friends for a long time. I feel so at home, and I'm so grateful that you took the opportunity to publish the book, because I know that it's also not maybe the easiest book to publish, because it's quite outspoken about a lot of different things. So I applaud your courage. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for your words, and it feels the same for me, Tijn. It's like, when did we met? Like, say, in March? We were like Speedy Gonzales, the book came out in September, and it feels just like being soul brother and sisters, like really. It's probably not a coincidence, isn't it?
No, and also, I don't know if you find that also in your life, that in this time that we are living in, sometimes people just disappear from your life. It's like a different timeline, but also other people appear in your life, and it feels like you've known them forever.
I have exactly the same situation. Yeah. And people, you have known them maybe like you just for a few months, and it feels like really, really close, and other people, they, like you said, disappear. That's how life goes.
That's how life goes, yeah.
So, Time Bender und die Rebellion der Anika Laroo in German is the second volume from the Time Bender. Time Bender and the man who came to save the earth. Your first one came out, I think, in 2021.
Yes, I think so. In Germany, in Holland, it came out a little earlier. I think it was. Anyway, it was written before the whole Corona thing happened. Okay. And I think Corona happened in 2020, if I remember correctly. So I think it came out in Holland in 2019.
Okay. So anyway, now that's the second one. And what would you say? How does it differ from the first Time Bender? And what was your inspiration for writing it?
I think the first Time Bender for me was like an overview of the whole galactic, cosmic connection that humanity has. It's something that I had been thinking about for about 5 years, that there must be more between, let's say, heaven and earth, like all these different densities and planets and races and everything. And you know how it is that when you sort of open up to that, to the possibility that all of a sudden all these inspirations come to you and people start talking about it. And so it was like a real revelation for me. And so that book is all about, what happened to us in the past in terms of our interaction with other beings from other star races. And it was also a lot about the dark side, I think, about, Lucifer, Hidden Hand is one of the characters that was very much present there. But the beauty, I think, of that book was that it didn't try to polarize. It was like, okay, the dark side is also part of this creation. And instead of fighting against the darkness, we should understand the role of the darkness to actually make us stronger. And Anika Laroo started when I stumbled upon a Plejadian civilization called the Taygetans. And this is the first civilization that I know of that actually decided to directly communicate with us through the internet. So, which is really interesting, because most of the information that I got was either inspiration or channeled information. You know how it is that people channel the Plejadians, or but channeling can be a little bit tricky, of course, because there's always the channeler, him or herself, which is like a filter. So you never really know, is this true, or is it partly true, or is it, an interpretation? But now all of a sudden I had a source which was, in their own words, they described, what happened in the past with us, what the situation is like right now, how they are also struggling to see, like, how can we help humanity best? Should we interfere, or should we just inspire, or should we give them knowledge, so for me that was like a gold mine, because suddenly I could, I didn't have to invent a story, but I could just more or less, present it in their own words. But still, I decided to write a novel, because I felt that if I wrote it down like, okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the truth, then, people would still maybe think I'm completely wacky, which I think anyway sometimes.
Is that also a question they ask you? Is it really science fiction, or what kind of book is that?
A lot of people ask that, and I think, but most people, they read it like a novel, because it is a novel. It's. I try to make it like a page turner, like, oh, what's going to happen now? But practically all the people who have read Time Bender 1 and 2, they all say, like, wow, they understand that the information in there is more than just something I made up, and is actually an attempt for me to explain what's going on Earth, and the connection with the star being, so to say.
Yeah, you can really feel it when you read it, and I
exactly.
have many readers telling me, "Oh, we just read Time Bender in 2 days."
Yes,
not just 2 pages.
That's what I hear all the time. That people, once they start reading, they can't stop, and that they also say, like, I know this, like deep inside. It's like something is stirred inside of me, that I already know this, and it makes so much sense. But and then they're grateful that it's like in one book. It's like It's all brought together in one book. And
that's
I think Time Bender.
Fascinating thing. I'm sorry that I'm interrupting you, but that's the fascinating thing about Time Bender und die Rebellion der Anika Laroo, that it's packed everything like in one book. So many themes you have heard about it, or know it in a way, but everything hangs together, and you have it like now in one book. Yeah. And I don't know if you can tell about something about the characters now in Time Bender und die Rebellion der Anika Laroo, and what challenges they have to face.
Yes. So what I like so much about the Taigetans, this race, is they're mainly a female. There are more females than males, but the females are very powerful. They're like warriors. And what they tell is that they have been connected to Earth for a very, very long time, because they feel very close to us. The Taigetans are just like us, but a little bit further in their development. And so they've gone through the same struggles, and so they feel that they can actually help us, and they feel, very sympathetic towards us, because they know that what we are going through, they also went through all those dark phases, and they can help us to understand what's going on. And they've actively participated in our past. So there are many passages in the book where Anika, and she actually exists, has actually participated in and has had an active role in our past. For instance, she was the one who spoke to President Eisenhower. I don't know if the viewers are familiar with that, but there was a time when President Eisenhower was actually a race came to him, which were the Greys, and they said, we will give you advanced weapons, etc. And the Taigetan said, like, don't do that with them, because if you do that, then you make a sort of a pact with the devil, and it's going to backfire. And so Anika was the one who met President Eisenhower to warn him against, let's say, the dark races of the past. But unfortunately, he didn't listen. So a part of the big mess that we are in right now is because Eisenhower let in those greys and the reptilians, etc., and they're dominating us even until today.
That's also a chapter in the book where you described this situation, because they travel back in time and they try to see where can we go and travel back in time and change the timelines so we can save the Earth.
That's the main theme of the book. What I wanted to do in this book is to make clear sort of the history and the different misunderstandings. And I think the most interesting thing is that Anika Laroo has such a different view of our history than we. And for instance, there's a whole part about Jesus.
Oh, yes.
Which is very controversial, because she actually says that Jesus never existed, that it's just a sort of a made-up story, just like all the religions, to get us into a control system.
Exactly.
And the thing is that there are many things that Anika says that I personally am not sure about. This is one of them. I'm not sure if Jesus was an actual character or not, but she is very sure, and she gives a lot of proof. And so I decided to just go along with her story. And in the beginning of the book, I also say, don't shoot the messenger. I don't know if I agree with everything, but what I do think is very interesting to have this very different view, because what it does, it shakes up all your concepts. And I think that is so important in this time. It doesn't matter exactly if it's true or not, but it's very important for us to look at all the concepts that we are living in and ask ourselves, is this true? And is this helpful? Is it helpful to follow a religious leader, for instance? Is it helpful?
It did the same with me. Honestly, Tijn, when I read the manuscript in this chapter, I was like, it did something with me. But it's what you mentioned. I think the message out of it is that you shouldn't follow a leader or politician or a guru or whatever, that, that we are the change. We have that creative potential in us. And that's what I really like about the book.
Yeah, and I think just about in every chapter, there are concepts that will sort of shake up your worldview. And that for me is the main reason for writing this book, because I think that humanity is now on a sort of a threshold. We're going to a new, whatever it is, a new civilization. Like all the indigenous people have been talking about this for ages, the Maya calendar, etc., etc. It's like all these cycles are coming to an end and something new is coming. But we can only go to this newness if we are able to let go of the old. I mean, if we hold on to our old concepts and our old way of thinking, then, we can never step into this newness. So that is, I think, the power of this book, to challenge all your concepts. And I understand that if people read this, they're sort of like, oh my God, I thought I knew how the world works, but now I sort of, but what I get from people is that they say, it's so refreshing, it's
it is.
Even though it's challenging and it's sometimes like, oh, I don't agree with this, it starts you thinking for yourself.
Yeah, that's so important these times, because I totally agree with you that if we want to go and a step forward to the new world, we can't build the new world on the old world.
Right.
We have to let go.
Yes.
And let's talk a little bit, go on with consciousness, because personally, I think your book helps really to open, like you said, it's like kind of like a key to open your consciousness. And it's all about consciousness right now to go forward. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, consciousness is the beginning of any creation. It all starts with our consciousness. Ideas come from that. Emotions come from that. And so our consciousness can only create if it's free, if we are not boxed in. And the problem with humanity at the moment is that we are not free. We may think we are free, but we are actually not. And honestly, it's much worse than we think. That's why Anika Laroo is a big challenge for us, because she points at very dark things that are going on Earth right now. But I think the only way to move on is if we do address the darkness, so to say. We have to see that we are imprisoned in order to be free. I remember once somebody told me about Gurdjieff. He was a teacher from a long time ago, and he asked his pupils one time, what is the most important thing that you need to become free from your prisons? And so his pupils, gave all sorts of answers, and it was all wrong answers. And he said the most important thing is to understand that you are imprisoned.
Yes.
If you don't see that, if you deny that, you think, oh, I'm pretty free and I've got a television and I got a good income and my kids are going to university. What's the problem? Then you're still in this sort of golden cage, so to say. And this is, I think, so important to really acknowledge that we are at the moment, in many respects, a slave race. And I know that's very harsh to say, but when you really acknowledge that, then you can let go of the change and really move into a free and peaceful future.
Yeah, and I think so much, we have a traumatized humanity, but you have to be aware of that. Many people are not aware of it. And as you said, the lie is so big that you even can't imagine where we are really living and have been living for a long time. So I think it's you need also to be kind of like courage. You need courage to face that and to see, oh, okay, I believed for the whole of my life in I don't know what, and it's not true.
Yeah.
They always told me, oh, that's a table, that's a table, that's a table. And after a long time, you figure out, oh, no, that's a chair. It never has been a table, just as a metaphor. You know?
That's very good.
So, and that can also be very confusing, and your whole worldview just collapse.
Yeah. And for me, that feels like a liberation, because I realize that the life that we are living now is partly like a prison. And then when that prison just falls down, like all your securities, they break down. Of course, on the one hand, it really feels like, oh my God, there's nothing I can hold on to anymore. But then if you can surrender to that, like a sort of a free fall, then you realize, hey, I'm flying, And remember, I told you the other day when I was visiting you, this friend of mine, he had this mantra, I don't know, I don't need to know, life will take care. And this is one of the mantras that it's also in the book that really has helped me, that if I try to understand with my mind, then, it's very difficult to understand something so big as creation or God or the universe with your mind. The mind is always in the way. It cannot understand. But then when the mind breaks down, when all your insecurities and everything you're holding on to and your theories and your dogmas, when it breaks down, then all of a sudden you understand and you see, but on another level, not on the mind level, but it's like your consciousness falls together, becomes one with all that is, and things become really clear.
And simply,
exactly. That's why I like the simply is such a good word. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. And I'm so with you. When you came and told me this sentence, I don't know, I don't have to know, the universe knows. And it's also in the book, it's just so great. And it's like you said, Tijn, we always, or talking about me, I want to understand like everything, and you can't.
Yeah.
And one of the character in your book, her name is Sasi. Do you spell it or pronounce it like that?
Yeah.
I like the main message she has, because she said we don't need anyone who saves us. We just need to get back to our heart. And I think that's one of the also main problems we have, that we have lost this connection to our heart, to the inner voice, and that we follow so many, other persons or leaders, politics, and, media. And so many things are manipulated and we are not aware about it.
Yes, that's right. And if we get in contact with our heart is still connected to all that is. It has no opinions. It has no judgments. It's just like an open field. And so I think, Yassi is the one who is really pointing to that place to, step out of the mind and get into the heart. And what I also like very much about her is that she brings it all back to us. It's like you don't have to fight with an enemy outside of yourself. You can try to change the system, but it will never work. You will only become part of the system, actually. But when you understand that the system is inside of you, because you have become conditioned that way, then if you are able to take responsibility for your own inner universe, then we can step out of this mess, so to say. And what I really like is that she says the world is in fact a projection of your own mind, your own inner world, so to say. So in fact, she even goes further, there is no world out there, And that is also like a big mind break. She even says, your mind is not in your body, but your body is in your mind.
Yeah, she says many things that...
These kind of things, it's like, what?
Confusing, okay?
Huh?
But that's what I really love about the book, because it bends your mind.
Yeah.
You start thinking about things you never thought before, maybe, and this is so important. And then when you get aware about things, you can start saying no. That's also in the book. So important. Do you want to say something about
that's
no?
Oh, I love that part. At one part, I meet a guy on Taygeta. This is like a planet in the Pleiades. He's actually from Earth, but he was sort of banished from Earth, and and he says that on Earth we have forgotten one word. And the interesting thing is that I make movies here in Holland almost every day, and I have like about 100,000 people who look at these movies, and I ask them, what do you think is the word that we have lost on Earth? And so I got a lot of answers: love, peace, happiness, compassion, joy, God, freedom, etc., etc. But it's not, nobody got it. And the word is no. No. Because if we can say no to all the, just the misdeeds and all the stuff that is happening here on Earth, we can actually say yes to what we do want. And so I think the thing to understand is that on one level we are already whole. There's no, everything that is happening is just exactly as it should. There's no problem. And we are still one with life on a spiritual level. But on another level, we are not. On another level, we are actually dealing with crazy stuff that's going on. One of the things that we've seen quite recently is, the insistence of governments and organizations to take a jab,
Yes.
which, when you think about it, is, anyway, you can discuss it, but it was like an insistence, and we had to wear these masks and all that stuff going on. So we need to learn to also say no. And that is the word that we have forgotten. And I think the guy who's telling me that in the book wants us to be strong, here on earth, to not, because in spirituality, many people are like, they forgive you and we're all one and we're happy and, love and light.
The new age.
New age. And that is also true. That's really good. And we should always keep that. And not like it's not this or that, but it's both. It's this.
It's both.
And you also got to be able to say no.
So important. So important.
Yeah.
Oh, I could talk for you forever about so many nice and interesting chapters. Is there any chapter you want to mention? Another one?
Yes, there's one.
Okay.
This is also very, very controversial, but I think one of the root problems we have right now on Earth, and we are actually seeing that very much right now, and it has to do with Zionism. Mm-hmm. And so what we are seeing right now, of course, is a terrible war going on in Israel with the Palestinians. And so many terrible things, of course, are happening. But it's very difficult for people to say something about that. I mean, I've experienced this myself also because before you know it, people call you an anti-Semite.
Yes.
It's like the worst thing that they can say to you. And so that is the reason why many people don't say anything towards the Israel regime. But actually, and this is explained very deeply in this book, there are two kinds of Jews. There are the original Jews, which come from Abraham, but there is also another kind of Jews, and these are the Zionists, and they are actually not even Jews. They come from the Khazars, which is a race that we don't hear much about it. They have been taken out of our history books. But when you look a little deeper, they lived in what we now call Turkey. So and they are not very nice people. They're very harsh, they're warriors, and they converted to Judaism in the Middle Ages. So they became Jews. They're not actually Jews. And these people are incredibly powerful. And so the thing that most people don't know is there are Zionists, which are the Khazar Jews, and then there are the Jews. And the problem, what is happening right now, is that the Jews are being blamed for the power game that the Zionists are playing. And this is a very touchy subject, especially, of course, in Germany and countries like that. But this is one of the things that I think is very important to put on the map and to talk about with one another, that if we are saying, for instance, to Netanyahu, stop your war, we're not anti-Semite, we're not against Jews. We are just saying, hey, that power game that you Zionists are playing all over the world, because when you really start digging deep, you see that they are everywhere. They're in America, they're everywhere.
It's international, and it's
Yes.
so important that you mentioned this chapter. It's really good explained in your book.
Yeah. It takes a lot of explanation. That's why I went very, very deeply into it, and I understand that if people just hear about this, they might, like the knee-jerk reaction is like you're an anti-Semite. But I explained it very deeply, and the thing is that I was a little bit afraid when the book came out that this chapter would create a lot of problems for me. And it didn't happen. And it's so interesting. And I think the reason is because it is so well explained in the book.
It's really good explained, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and it's very important because just recently, I don't know if you know that in Holland, we had a big thing here in Amsterdam with a Jewish supporters of a football club coming to Amsterdam.
Oh, you told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like a big, big thing. And they started beating up people and burning Palestinian flags, etc. And the interesting thing was that they were framed in the media as the victims. Oh, these pure Jewish people, they were beaten up, and it's another pogrom again, and it's anti-Semitism, and we have to stop this now. And it's crazy because when you look at the footage, you just see that these guys are the ones that are actually beating up people. But we cannot see it. We are so stuck in this guilt
Yes.
this feeling of guilt still towards the Second World War and everything that happened. And I'm not denying that horrible things have happened, but if we are stuck in a wrong framing, so this is just one of the things that I really wanted to explain in this book.
And the framing, we have it all over. I mean, the media, they just frame, and it's always be like that, in history, it's been like that always, I mean, history is written by the victors.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, Tijn, thank you so much for sharing all your insights. And so lastly, I don't know, do you have any other projects with books? I mean, I know that you're going to translate it right now in English.
Yeah, it's finished now. So
it's finished? Okay.
yeah, it's finished. So now, I don't know. In the next few weeks, I think I'll publish it in. It will be published in English. And what I'm going to do next year in 2025 is I go into the theaters, a tour to talk about these things. And I'm also making a lot of music right now, also for this theater tour, like songs and meditations. But basically, I think the thing that I'm doing most at the moment is just trying to be really happy.
Oh, so important.
Yeah,
Joy.
and it sounds maybe a little like, okay, but I realized that I've been fighting, so to say, the whole thing that's going on Earth. Maybe not since I was born, but I think since I was 6, I realized that there's so much going on here, and so I was always, trying to wake people up, and of course trying to wake up myself. That's the main thing, of course. But I'm beginning to realize now that probably the best thing we can do to have this artificial matrix, so to say, collapse, is to just be really happy, and to have like high vibrations, because then you are automatically outside of the matrix. And so I think that's our main priority. I mean, if we get unhappy and fearful, fighting with the matrix, okay, on one hand, you have to say no.
Both, yeah.
Yep, you have to say no. But it's always the most important thing is to stay in peace and in happiness. So that's my main priority always.
Oh, so important. I'm so with you.
Nice.
And I don't know about your tour, if you're also coming to Switzerland. I know you're coming in January. We'll see if we do something together.
That would be really good, yes.
Theater tour? Are you just in Holland or?
Well, I can do it anywhere, because it's for me, it's very easy to do it in English as well. So let's do that. Let's organize something. I would love that.
Okay, great. So we'll keep in touch, and I thank you so much for this interesting conversation. And I thank you to all our listeners for joining in. And just check out Time Bender or on the website. And I wish you all the best and lots of love. Bye.
Thank you, Martina. Bye everyone. Bye. Bye-bye.